Hello everyone, and welcome back to Refraction Room. Today I wanted to make probably my final episode on RimWorld's lore, and I wanted to discuss what the RimWorld was and why it is what it is now. I want to start off with saying that this world was obviously once a glitter world. There's a few reasons to indicate this. One, why was the player and the Empire traveling to the RimWorld? If it was just some casual, average industrial technology world, then why would the player go there without a attempt to try to get maybe fame or fortune or whatever we were looking for when we arrived? Number two is, why was the RimWorld have so many glitter world technologies? Glitter world medicine, spacecraft ridiculously glittering out of the sky. The fact that the mechanoid hive was a glitter technology. So if it was a lower tech hive, then it wouldn't make sense. They originated from the planet at the very least. There's also things like the fact that they have so many Archotech artifacts just as a stockpile. It can be assumed that in lore, Archotech artifacts are like the only thing that the glitter world societies want. So they go on wars, minor wars that aren't really challenging, to collect as many of them as they can. They're still ludicrously rare, but they still get them. So the other piece of the question is, why is the RimWorld still in a state of RimWorld? Oh, and I wanted to say a bit of one more piece of evidence is that there's xenotypes. If those xenotypes were in containment or part of a glitter world, or this was a less advanced world, there wouldn't be so many xenotypes, but there are. So we start off with a timeline of the fact that there's an Arco Nexus on this world. Only glitter world societies are capable of developing Archotech AI, and once they do, they automatically become Conqueror. That can be assumed that this RimWorld is an exception to that, and maybe that's why it's so special. Thousands of years ago, this RimWorld created an Archotech AI that then tried to take over the world, but the glitter worlds fought back, and either to much success or none of it. Because on one hand, the Archotech did flee, but on the other hand, it took control of all the mechanoids before it left and made them mad machines and killed nearly everyone. What else was there? Oh, yes. The fact that they fought back is evidenced by the fact that there's so many ruins, like fused together things. Ancient tank, I believe it was. It seems to have been fused together by some high energy weapon. Ancient Warwalker like. The valuable parts were looted and the rest was fused together with some kind of energy heavy weapon. A lot of technologies, especially very heavy ones, or powerful ones seemingly, were fused together, which would be possible but difficult if you weren't an Archotech AI capable of producing a literally limitless amount of energy. So that would explain this place was once a glitter world. But why did it collapse? Oh, I already said it a few minutes ago. This place developed an Archotech AI, it grew up. Well, it didn't grow up. It fled the RimWorld, or now former glitter world. It fled the glitter world and now there's another Archotech society somewhere else. But why is the Archotech society not gotten revenge? It obviously wants to because it's controlling the mechanoid hive. But why isn't it using the full extent of this? Well, it's because it wants the RimWorld to be a story generator. Either the Archotech has broken the fourth wall, and knows that you, the player, are existing, and is, remodeling this RimWorld by pure chance. There's some travelers coming along, single-handedly for you to play. And the Archotech is controlling all of that and, making the scenarios. This would also explain why there's no other society that's conquered this and why the Empire can't take it over. With their orbital bombardments, you'd think that they'd be easily able to pull everything away, but they don't. Because every single time that somebody tries to land here and colonize it, by pure chance, there seems to be hundreds of centipedes waiting to attack them. Or if they try to use missiles, it seems that all the missiles by pure chance fail due to an ancient shield system. Regardless, this glitter world is now a RimWorld because the Archotech wants you, the player, to have a good time. Or the option that I, again, have no proof for, but if you think about it, it can make sense, is that the Archotech is raising you, the player, as a child Archotech. You are the child in which has been sent to the real world as a development situation. This would explain it. Technically speaking, an architect is a person who maybe have transcended to the quote-unquote real world. And you, the player, are entering their world, training yourself up to become an architect in their world. And ultimately speaking, the only reason you can activate the Arconexus and why nobody else has found it and activated it, not the other factions, is because you, the player, have been granted permission by the Architect as the child AI of the Architect. The Architect already has favorites, as evidenced by a few quest lines. So why wouldn't you be one of these favorites? Why is there such a thing as a man in black? That doesn't happen for other people, so why does it happen here? Well, maybe it does, for those that are favored. In any case, the player would not be able to eternally live, and it would definitely not be able to survive if the Architect wasn't at least partially enforcing it. The Architect is creating this world as more or less an egg for potentially limitless amounts of human players. And every single time a human player kills beggars or something, it's potentially killing another person's playthrough. Well, obviously not in the real world, but like in canon. And so that's what the AI, the Architect specifically, is trying to do. Raise more Architect so that it can do whatever it wants to do with you. Perhaps it's going to make you another quest giver. You know, the monument builder. Seems that a message from a very specific persona has arrived, asking you to build a monument. You could become one of them. Maybe you're becoming another Architect in the system. Maybe you're an Architect spreading to other system. Which is potentially why RimWorld is special. It could be, in canon of the game, the first documentation of Architects trying to spread. As shown by the fiction primer, Architects don't try to spread, but this could be the first one that is. Perhaps due to the fact that this Architect may have been the only Architect so far that was fought against and lost, potentially. And now he wants to conquer the entire human race, and now he's doing so. By raising, which is infinitely smarter than any human I know, by the way, by raising more Architects for himself and going on an attack rather than letting him, he can, ultimately speaking, prevent the whole universe from ever forming life again by sending an Architect per system and infinitely spreading until eventually all Architects vaporize their systems and prevent humans from ever existing. That was a lot and a mouthful. But perhaps that's what the RimWorld is. Perhaps the RimWorld wiki, well, not the RimWorld wiki, perhaps the RimWorld as an egg, RimWorld Architects represent the developers of the game, complete control over the universe, and that's what they're doing. Perhaps what they're doing with players is raising them up to become modders and programmers so that they can hire them. Perhaps that's what's happening here in canon. The Architect is raising players and developers, training other developers. Who knows what's happening here? In whatever case, this RimWorld is not the average RimWorld, as evidenced by the fact that there's an Architect here, so many systems, the Empire chose it. The Empire wouldn't have chosen it if it was a normal world. There's so many Sangophages here. I mean, they're rare, but there's still a lot of them. It wouldn't make sense if there wasn't at least like an Architect system. Perhaps the Architect in our system is the same Don Zoman guy who tried to control an Architect centuries ago. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe the Architect didn't immediately go on the attack, but simply converted him instead. In any case, the RimWorld is a tale in which the Architect is for some reason controlling mechanoids on this world and preventing the world from developing further. Why? We don't know, but I just laid out a few theories. If you have any other theories as to why the Architect is letting a player live and not just immediately killing them, for any matter, letting anybody live and not just immediately killing them, please tell me. This would explain a few other things, such as the fact that mechanoids just won't flip and die. No matter how many of them you kill, they'll always be back for more. It wouldn't make sense if they're just ancient creatures. They'd slowly dwindle in numbers by the amount of mechanoids there are. But since the Rambine Architect, he either sends them shipments of supplies or manually directs them perfectly so that nobody ever finds them and they mine out resources, build new mechanoids, and go on the attack again. 2. Why there's so many scary infested manhunting animals. Every single time a pack runs in, every single animal has 5 days before it's completely flippin' dead. And they don't see ever reproducing to other animals. This area doesn't ever go to any other animals. Not even the same ones that are under your or under wild control. So how are there so flippin' many of them? For starters, it could be just simply malfunctioning mechanites, which is unlikely given that the scale of man-hunting animals we see. Or it could be architects influencing them with diseases to make them go manhunter and attack the player. It will also explain a few question lines, such as why rhinoceroses are, which is why chinchillas, in a specific, child running from Animal Hidden Quest, he insulted a pack of chinchillas, and now they're running after him. I mean, it could be as any animal for any reason, but not every animal is mad. What else was I saying? Oh yes, it would explain why certain events only appear once, like the Deserter and the Noble Wimp quest appear. It would explain why Men in Black can appear. By pure chance, there was a person who felt compelled to collect the best gear and wander off into the middle of nowhere, and right as he arrived, there was just so happens to have been a colony that was in complete madness. He just so happens to have medicine, always be capable of violent and medical, he happens a good revolver, etc., etc., etc. All these things by pure chance, nothing else whatsoever. But that doesn't explain it well. It wouldn't happen if it was a normal world, but it's not a normal world. It's controlled. And who knows why he's controlling it. Either he's doing it for your real world enjoyments, or he's doing it as raising you to become his Archotech children, I suppose. Arco child, whatever you want to call it. And it also explains, again, why mechanics are capable of producing Archotech technology. They wouldn't if they're not controlling him, but they are. But I said that in my last video, I believe. With that in mind, I want to finish this video before it gets too long and I start unequivocally actually ranting, as opposed to giving you some barely useful knowledge. This has been Refraction Rotor. Please subscribe, I guess.